phone, and I'm thinking, gosh, I hope it wasn't the tip.
All right, we are live. I heard Megan's not going to be here today. She is sick, and I think Doug's going to be late. Turn this down. Is that us? Yeah. You watch us while we're having our meeting? I watch it only to see if there's comments that come through for the public forum.
It says Megan's not going to be here?
Megan will not be here.
To see who gets to sit on his lap. And then if Puppy gets there first, the Gracie should.
That's fun.
A lot of money, huh?
Never even got money for that.
Oh, my. What are yours?
Other than the great grumpy baby.
Babies.
We haven't gotten any funding from FEMA
We walked through the
or the state for any of this stuff yet.
Here.
And I was
I
telling
can't do
them the
anything
damage
with her. She
to
doesn't want up to my dad.
the
Equipment.
equipment
Just
we're
smile.
seeing right now. Insurance will cover
So
that.
it's
'Cause I
what's the
think
matter
that
with
was
the
supposed to be
baby?
right
And I
up.
took her and she looked at me, she just broke out a big grin.
The 430
I
was
thought you said
gas
you
tank.
broke me. Liar.
The hose was too heavy for the plastic gas tank. I cracked it.
But right now they're
Kid
living
in
in the dining
77
room.
was
So like the living room to be
tree
fixed.
log
Seriously?
fell on it.
Jeez.
Doug was very concerned about that.
You just still fight the battle.
So what's the 908 and the 953, I'm gonna assume was the big
Good?
end loader.
Yeah.
And 908 was the smaller payloader that we had.
They took out his garage.
Oh.
And part of his, well, his roof was damaged. He couldn't take it out. And then,
Who
basically,
just showed up?
Just with Sheely.
the garage was an old, so he took everything out, put in the big shed, so.
Welcome.
Yeah, that's funny.
I know when we were calling.
Thank you.
Are you getting those emails I'm sending?
Yes,
Okay.
and he is not ignoring you.
Preachers, by the way. Just chuckled when I saw that. I know you're not ignoring me. I know he's a busy man and they're trying to hire somebody.
Yeah, he's getting there.
I understand.
I'm leaving. I'm out.
Have you started yet?
I didn't want to record it anyway.
Was your party?
Over here, welcome, John.
Really good time, dude.
Megan's gone. You can have front row seat.
I don't want to be confused for councilman, so.
We can move my name over there.
Did you know they were him?
We were supposed to have one, but one backed out. So she came by herself. Shelley, Frank, and French.
You guys have a band?
I have Richard.
He's pretty good.
He is, I like him.
Jamie? Yep. What are the two spotlights? You got your truck from?
They were for my camper. So when I backed up, I could see
Oh,
myself
yeah,
looking
that
up.
makes sense. Just
Or-
click them on.
And I could see where I was pulling in at night, make sure that I lined up fine.
Got it. I didn't know if it was, most of the time when people have them, it's for plowing snow. When they're backing up, they can flip them on. It doesn't have a plow on it. What?
That was my hack. I had
I
a
had to bring home the
bed
high football boys.
liner rail brackets.
Yep.
And I had to cut them down so I could screw them in so they would
Oh, yeah.
pop up. Now it doesn't work. I don't know what I,
You get a new camper?
know.
Not getting a camper at all now? Fix the
We-
old one.
Well, they totaled it and took it with them. So,
Oh, twisted the frame?
yep, frame and the axles.
From the storm?
We have about a 20-foot embankment.
That's like a
It went
cliff.
down the whole thing?
It went down the whole thing.
So even if the wind had just knocked it over, it might have,
Yeah, that ended up in the neighbor's yard along with his boat that took his off to his concrete pad. And
is the Casey's awning, is that from the storm over here?
Yeah. You see they changed their logo.
here's what I heard. A lot of these food-related businesses are switching to red because it's supposed to make you more hungry.
I've heard that.
Casey's has been red for,
Ever.
But it's been red, yellow, and brown. So
Yep.
now,
So is
Just
Wendy's.
yeah, but then that's change.
It looks like Wendy's.
Yes, it does. That's where I recognized it.
So you know my Casey's ball cap with the collector's item.
That's
It's got
right.
The old logo on it.
that's right.
I need
Deb,
to know
are you
Casey's
ready?
had ball caps.
I know a guy that works at the warehouse.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That works perfect. All right, it is 5:31. We're going to call the meeting to order, or 6:30 run, excuse me. We'll start with roll call. Steve,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Megan. Doug. Ken.
Yes.
Approval of agenda in front of you. Got the agenda. Is there anything that you see that needs to be changed or any additions to this?
Move the agenda.
Motion by Steve.
Second.
Second by Alex. Discussion. Hi, Megan. Perfect. Megan is here now at 6:32. Okay, hearing none, we'll go for roll call. Steve,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Doug and Ken.
Yes.
Citizens Forum. Are there any citizens on the phone that want to bring anything to the council's attention? Hearing none, we'll move on to departmental reports, starting with 5A sheriffs.
I move we,
Go ahead.
hold off on the sheriff's report, until the sheriff shows up.
Perfect. Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Ken. Steve,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Ken.
Yeah.
Okay, fire department. Looks like there were one call with 5 people, no injuries, no maintenance, some special events. There's going to be no fire department breakfast this October, and Santa in December is still up in the air. Future plans, there's nothing new. Anything the city needs to do, there is nothing. Anything for Tony?
As far as
Nope. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 5C, EMS report. They had 15 calls from 9-1 to 10-1, 9 people responded. Cambridge was paged 4 times per Story County Sheriff's Department, and they showed up 3 times. Number of personnel on the calls is 20. Of those, 11 were certified. They had fire persons to assist. No injuries. Don't believe there's any maintenance needed at this time. No training coming up. No concerns. No special events either. Cole Nelson is now a certified member. Anything for Shelby?
certified as an EMS or EMT.
I'm assuming so.
Yes.
No, the only thing I like to, no, I'm fine.
You're fine?
Add it later. Yep.
Give me a pen. Here, moving on to item 5D, library report. They had a meeting via conference call on October 7th, 185 books, 52 movies, a total of 107 people rather in attendance, and 101 bridges were checked out. They're currently open Monday 11 to 2 and 4 to 7, Wednesday 4 to 7, and Thursday 4 to 7 by appointment and curbside pickup only. They're going to continue cleaning and sanitizing, and Crystal is working on the end of year report for the state. Looks like Crystal's going to start the recertification process for the library with the state to determine their tier status. They're going to make a decision on the automation system, continue cleaning and sanitizing, and looking into opening to the public and what they need to do in order to do that safely. Anything for the library? Hearing none, we'll move on to 5E, Public Works. Nothing new on the streets. They're going to start thinking about when our roof on the city hall has been repaired. The park shelter by the playground has been removed. The roof on the building in the Legion Field has been repaired. They are contacting Dorn Fence Store to repair damaged fences, and Meeks removed 3 damaged trees from the cemetery. For water, we pumped 1.75 million gallons, sold 1.3 million gallons, and installing a new curb stop at 508 North Street. As far as sewer goes, we pumped approximately 2.3 million gallons. Roof on controlled building has been repaired, and they're ready to start upgrading. Anything for public works? Hearing none, moving on to item 5F, city clerk. Miscellaneous information. D had a meeting with them on 9:30. They gave us a worksheet to fill out before next meeting on 10/13. They're working on various state reports, and Deb had a demonstration on a program for mapping assets such as water lines, valves, trees, etc. She says it was a good program, but the costs were more than the city could afford. Anything for Deb?
Yes, Deb, on the treasurer's report, there's a $225 charge against capital fund project 301. Do you have any idea what that is?
$125.
225, isn't it?
Where at?
I mean, my eyes aren't all that great.
125.
125.
125.
Thank you.
That was an engineering thing. 125.
Is capital project fund 301, is that street repair?
Yeah, that's the Baldwin project.
Okay.
Anything else for Deb?
Yep. Maybe.
What was the cost of that program, Deb?
It was 6,000 to get it started, and then 3,000 something a year.
Holy buckets.
It looked like a really nice program, but it was way above what we could use.
And who did the program?
It's through G-Works. It's the same people that we have our, actually it's their other side, Sipple City.
So this is mapping of water lines, valves, trees. It's like taking a program. It's a map of the city where our new lines are, our old lines are.
They
So
can,
then it would take somebody to put that in, obviously.
and once it's up and running, then I should be able to go in and change things.
But isn't that essentially what Snyder was proposing?
Basically,
We did a proposal on it, but we haven't gone anywhere with it. Because we were gonna work at one time, we were gonna work with city staff locate, and then we come out and pick up shots. But if you've got some, so you're saying it is a program that was proposed, or?
yeah, it was just proposed to me. They wanted me to watch a demonstration, so I watched the demonstration.
What
They
you were
did
gonna,
cemetery stuff too. They did
And that was through G-Works?
G-Works, yeah.
Did you get a free coffee mug out of the deal?
No, I didn't.
Dang it.
what Snyder was going to do was help us get the data put in. It would be a web application that we would be able to log into and input data. And I don't remember there being a cost for any software because it was a web app.
Yeah, and I'm curious, maybe we'll chat later and see if that is something that, what the services would compare, and if there's advantages to it. You don't hurt my feelings if you want to use something else for that. We have the ability to do some of it, but you said it's a subscription service?
Yeah, it's 3,700 a year.
Yeah, depends on if you're getting that level of value for the annual cost, but
I don't have any other questions.
I will say Deb saved the school some money because we had a toilet that kept going. So that's kind of the perk of having these digital water meters is because we were, what was it? They have like 500 gallons an hour or something like that.
Yeah,
Big toilet.
It was the urinal in the concession stand.
Oh.
So we have shut that off completely, and now people can just use the toilet. So, cool. All right, item 5G, the engineer report. I think that Wes gave that to us, or
Yeah, Deb, did you get those copies made?
Yep.
Cool.
This,
Only having 3 weeks between meetings, and
I know, it's hard, wasn't it?
this year snuck up on, or this month snuck up on me. So you can see that there. I'll run through just kind of the highlights here real quick. So the Highway 210 sign modifications, we got response back from the DOT that said that they had moved those signs now. I drove through it, we confirmed. I couldn't tell where they used to be, so.
Doug came in and told me they.
Okay, all right, good. That's why I was hoping Doug was here to confirm. So we did get those moved. I say we, DOT did finally get those moved, so.
you can take credit for it. Though.
Yeah, we got those moved. No. So they are moved, so that's good. We'll see if that helps with the traffic control a little bit there on Highway 210. Oaks Development, I have not heard any
You
movement
know
on that
whether or
project.
not they put the flags on it?
There are no flags on it. I noticed that. So I was gonna ask Greg about that because that was a special request we did make. So it may not be done yet, but at least the signs are moved.
Yep.
I hope, but we'll see if they still intend to put the notice flags on. The Oaks Development, I haven't seen any movement on that, so it's where it was last month. Feels like
Crops
last
out
week.
yet?
What's that?
Are the crops out yet
No,
up there?
I didn't see him.
I haven't paid attention.
Although I got a house in my way.
Part of them are.
Yeah, the crops on the south side are out, most of the wastewater treatment plant, but I don't know about the other side. Baldwin Street, no change on that from last month. Just waiting on the selection of preferred design alternative and move forward on that one. Wastewater treatment plant improvements. So we have started started reviewing the submittals from the contractor, which is the first behind the scenes step on that. So for those, that's for materials and equipment that they plan to use. So we're doing that right now. They're planning to begin construction on site as soon as possible, which is somewhat dependent on the access easement. And an update on the easement acquisition, we have had zero luck in getting the property owner to call us back. Our right-of-way gal has called at least once a week, if not a couple times a week, since the 10-day waiting period was over, and left messages and no return calls. So I've been corresponding with her on what our options are there. The question is, does anybody in the city have a contact with them, or, I think you guys have the same contact we have, sort of going by and knocking on the door a couple times a day to try and catch them at home. It's starting to become a real.
Sending them a certified letter or something.
Well, they've got the offer was a certified letter. We need a
Condemnation?
not an option at this point because we didn't go through all those hoops up front. And that is the danger, the risk of that. So I'm going to try and call him this week, see if it maybe comes from a different number if that's called him before. He's a doctor, so I can understand just being really busy, but it's getting to the point where we really need to get a resolution on that. The contractor's asking if they can put a temporary access over the creek there at the end of First Street. And we've explored what that would take. There's some DNR permitting issue on that because would be filling in the floodway.
Mentioned that.
So
Trying to fix the DNR thing.
What you need from Sidwell?
we just
a
need,
signature on a piece of paper?
well, yeah, so this is we're in the negotiation process. So we've sent him our initial offer. We need to get any concerns, counters from him back. If he's good with it, then it's just a signature on a line saying we accept the offer. If it's a counter offer, then we need that counter offer to be presented to the city. So
If
the
he
city
gives
can
you
make a
the
call.
signature on a line, then you do everything else?
Yeah, no, that's all there is. We do all the recording, we do all the everything. It's just, we need to get his feedback on where he sits on the offer. And if it's good, sign it. If not, counter, present it to the council. council say, okay, yeah, we can accept that, take it back, have him sign it. But we gotta, I mean, it's an in-person thing right now, or at least a phone call to get feedback from him on whether he's open to the offer.
And can you just have somebody stop at his work with a piece of paper to sign and explain very openly that we have a construction project and we've got to move forward with it, and we would appreciate a signature?
We could try that.
At least you'd find out.
Yeah, at
whether or
least
not-
we'd find out. Yeah. We try not to hassle, but maybe at this point that's what we have to do because we've been trying for a month now.
Yeah.
So that may be what we have to do, or evening time, drive up, knock on the door kind of thing.
Mhm.
I mean, we like to do it by phone just because that's considerate and when you're available, when can you talk? But short of anything else. So this
Go
week,
up and say,
Yep.
Norma, we do this by phone.
Yep.
So
I've
we
not been able to reach you.
We've been
So-
calling you for the last 30 days, and we have contractors waiting. Would
Yep.
you please sign this so we can proceed?
Sign us or let us know if you're open to signing it at least. If it's too little, tell us. We can work with it from there. Yeah, that's what we need to know.
Not
So.
for needing that, whatever.
Yeah, so I'll talk with our real estate gal, and other people that she works with. They might have some ideas too. They do this all the time, so we'll see what we can do. But that is where we're at on that one. We're just trying to get a response. Other than that, everything seems to be going good on the treatment plant project. Deb, I didn't get it in here, but we are submitting all the forms to the DNR and SRF for the loan closing.
Okay.
And their information. We're going to need to get that loan closed, I believe, before we can get disbursement on it. And we've got the mobilization payout from the contractor already in the works. So hopefully that's going to be moving soon.
Okay.
Is the 40% increase in price of lumber, is that gonna have a pretty significant effect on this?
Not at this point because we've got a contract.
Okay.
So I mean that's part of the contractor's business. This is the forecast price of material. We don't have a lot of lumber. I mean, there's going to be some form lumber, things like that.
Mostly steel buildings, right?
I believe it's steel.
Block?
No, it's block building.
Block
That's right,
building?
block building. So,
Yeah.
there'll be some roof trusses and things like that. But yeah, no. It's going to affect my barn repair, but it's not going to affect this project. So that's where we're at on that one. Yeah, Fifth Street Storm Sewer, same, no change on that one. High school improvements, we did receive the site plan submittal, 10-4, was that late last night? So I got that. If you want to see the documents, I brought a full-size copy. I asked them to bring 2 or 3 full-size copies to you, Deb, for city file records.
Okay.
You can keep them, pass them out. I don't know if there's anything in there that the building inspector is going to need, but
Your
in case you
brief,
do.
your brief look at that, do you think there's gonna be any?
I have not even had, I rolled it up. Like I said,
It's a lot.
it came in late last night and I printed it and rolled it up just so I'd have it here tonight, but I have not looked at it at all yet.
I think we just got ours Friday, so.
Okay, yeah. And from what I read in the email that he sent along with it, the stormwater management is on par with what we'd expect for, including some stormwater control features that would not make the runoff from the site worse than it is today.
Okay.
So but we'll see how those come out. But we'll be reviewing those, providing comments and recommendations to you guys on that. Main Street ADA ramp. I think that's still on my task list to get to you guys for quotes, or to you guys to send out the quotes. Do you have contractors that you know you want to send that to, or would you like a list from us of potential contractors that might be interested in that kind of work?
We normally do concrete work.
Oh, we have both Myers and Maxwell.
JPT.
Yeah. If you've got local guys that's who you want to send to, then we can just stick with those. Like I said, before it's under the threshold for public bidding or public quotation. So We don't have to bring in anybody else, but if you want some names of other contractors, we can always provide some additional ones, but.
Well, and I would say at a minimum, the two locals should get it, and if there's somebody else who does quality work, then they can certainly get it too.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah, I don't know whether either one of them does this as does this frequently enough.
Mm-hmm.
I know they do a lot of concrete work.
Yeah.
But
if they do a lot of flat work, they should be more than capable of doing this type of work. So shouldn't be an issue. So, and a lot of times the local contractors sometimes tend to be your least expensive because of the travel, as well as they, not always, sometimes if it's their backyard, they tend to care a little bit more.
And as far as we're concerned, this could even be done next spring. So,
Yep. Well, and I think that's the thing too. When we send it out for quotes, it's not a public letting with a completion date, but I think it would be prudent to have in there, hey, we're looking at having this done sometime between now and June 1st or whatever date we want to pick next year. If you give them plenty of time, that if you're not in a hurry, that helps them price it and it helps them be more interested if they can see it fitting into other work that they've got going on.
mm-hmm.
I had also talked with the people on the Robeson Trust that own that.
Yes.
And us as a school and the bank president are okay if we get a letter from the city saying that we need to pay for that extra square that we needed to repair. So.
So is that something we want to put on this plan and then have the city send a letter to? Okay.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it, this will do it all.
It's never going to get cheaper than when you got somebody already there.
Yep.
So, unless you do it like 3 years ago. All right. So we'll get that extra square included in there.
Yep.
And then maybe come up with a name or two of maybe some non-local contractors. If you wanted to send to them, you could get a cost check or have a chance at it too, if you'd like.
So 5th Street is being held because Baldwin Street decision hasn't been made. And the Baldwin Street, we've selected the alternative, but we haven't selected a preferred design alternate.
Have we selected the final? Did we do that last time?
Why?
I can't remember now.
I thought we decided to go full depth
we make
because
that
it
call?
would be a 30-year street rather than a 20-year street.
Right.
And the only issue that I was thinking was up in the air was along the gutters as it crossed 6th Street and 7th Street, how that flow is going to be handled. And we all decided we, at this time, can't do another storm sewer. So, run it down the gutters just the way it does today, only it'll be more efficient and hopefully get to the intakes on 5th Street. And we may not want to, whether we want to do 5th Street first or whether we do Baldwin Street first or whether we do them both at the same time so that it can take the water.
Right.
I'm really reluctant to get Baldwin all done and cause more flooding for Shannon than he already has.
I think you might find that if you did Baldwin first, it's not going to change the flow pattern drastically from what's there today. There's some puddles along the way, but in general, that flow does come down the street and goes into what passes for intakes there at 5th. today. So doing Baldwin first, I don't think is going to do too much, change too much of what Fifth would see. Maybe a little bit, probably not too much. During the big storms, those little river baths fill up, everything just rolls past anyway.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't see that being the biggest thing. The coordination between the two is how that construction stops and starts between them. So that's something.
And whether or not some of it, well, actually, were we going all the way from Fifth to Sixth, or was Fifth to Sixth looked at as being okay?
No, I think it goes right up to Fifth.
Okay.
So I think it starts at kind of the end of returns off of Fifth Street is where it kind of the breaking point is, and looking at, okay,
I would just as soon not be in a situation where we get Baldwin done and
Yep.
then a year later we come in and jackhammer out a bunch of.
right. No, and that's the thing. We don't want to redo anything. So that stopping start. So you need to have that transition point be one that you're not doing double work, as well as having it work out to where whatever the new grades are over here, if we have to change anything, fits with what we're doing over here. You don't want to have this one done and have it be a little bit higher than what this one comes in as, and now you got a problem and you got to redo this to make it work. So
I think we still have the blueprints of the grades for Baldwin Street in the file there.
I bet they haven't changed either. But yeah. So I will check my notes on that. I was thinking, I was going off my memory on that, and I probably shouldn't have. I should check my notes to see if I wrote down the direction on that. So if we have the okay to proceed with final design on that, then we will.
Well, Deb, would you check the minutes and see whether or not council has formally approved an option? And if they haven't, let's get it on the next council meeting. We still have to wait until Tiana can give us the go that we have all the finances in order.
Right. And what we're looking at doing is just getting the final design on the shelf.
Yep.
And then it's available for when and wherever.
Okay.
It goes
Sounds
forward.
great.
Honestly, it can sit on the shelf for quite a while and be okay. So.
Anything else for Wes? Hearing none, we will move to item 6A, discussion and action on trick or treat night. I believe this was approved last month, but there may, by the sounds of it, be a conflict. I don't know. Doug's not here. I think this was Doug's item.
Doug was concerned about football playoffs being that Friday night,
If we make it to the third round.
if we made it to the third round.
So our other option that we toyed around with last month was having it on the 31st. I think that was the original motion that was made.
And I believe I read where Collins is having it on the 31st.
Anybody heard about that?
Right.
Let me pull up Collins.
I haven't heard, but that normally they go the opposite night of us.
Right. We did, and we said
Yeah.
possibly the 30th, and so.
So in order to reconsider a motion, someone from the prevailing side has to offer a reconsideration, unless we're just going to pass a resolution that rescinds the previous resolution. Alex and I were on the prevailing side. I understand the concern about a playoff and would certainly be willing to say that we keep it on the 31st or on the 30th unless that is a playoff night, in which case it's moved to the 31st. What do you think?
When we get.
I think now we're gonna end up running into issues with Collins.
Yeah.
So,
Well, then it stays on the 30th, but if it's a playoff night, then the kids won't be able to run over to Collins and trick and treat. because we'll both have it on the same night. If we continue on the 30th, is there a concern that if it's a playoff night, that that's going to cause a problem for some families? Well, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe a handful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about who's all on football and who shows up to games, and you're talking about it.
I'm gonna make the motion, we just stay with the same.
Okay, well,
Motion,
there's no reason to have a motion.
Okay,
If no one's interested in putting forward an alternate, then we just move on.
I just say, move on with it. It is what it is.
any other discussion? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to item 6B, approval to post for the 2 openings on the park and open spaces board members. In front of you have a write-up that'll be posted.
And the reason we only need 2 is because Jody's already committed, or does she need to apply?
She needs to apply. It's Mike Gustafson's, his position
Okay.
isn't until next year.
Okay, so I move approval of the posting.
Moved by Steve. Second by Alex. Discussion. Hearing none. Ken,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Alex?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Okay.
Wake up.
Item 6C, Resolution 2020-25, a resolution approving annual urban renewal report for 2018-2019. In front of you have that resolution.
I move approval, but I will have some questions for Deb.
Should that be it's the second, correct? The date?
Urban
No.
renewal report
It's the
for 1819 or 1920?
1920.
1920.
No, the second.
Yeah,
of
it's the
October.
5th. It should be the 5th.
Okay.
I was a month ahead of myself.
That's okay.
And then on the item, it should say renewal report for 2019-2020, right? Not 2018-2019?
1920.
Steve, do you still have a sitting motion?
Yes. I move it and I will still have questions.
Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Alex.
Or Megan.
Megan, try to get in there.
Megan can do it.
Okay, second by Megan. Discussion.
On page 1 of 4,
Okay.
the TIF Special Revenue Fund cash balance is shown at 0. In the treasurer's report, you add the 2 together and there's $100,000 or plus out there, but it just doesn't get reported on this.
You're right.
So that needs to be corrected,
That needs to be corrected.
which would also then, I take it it's a kind of a spreadsheet and you make a correction in one place, it flows through.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see if I have.
It must
any-
not have gotten updated because I had that in there.
Page 3, it says, if TIF revenue, it says, I had surgery in my eyes, I still can't see very well. Subject to a statutory end date, and you say no. Does the bond attorney agree with that? I thought that these things had a 20-year statutory end date, and so we're a year beyond its end. Or does ours not have an end date?
Where are you? I'm sorry.
Page 3,
3, yeah.
where it's going through each one of the districts. Each
Okay.
one of them says, subject to a statutory end date, you have no on all of them. And I just wanted to make sure that that is what you are being advised by the bond council.
I'm not being advised on the bond council. That's what I pulled up from the county, information on this.
Okay, so the county information says it's not subject to a statutory end date.
Yep.
Okay,
Any other discussion?
move approval of the, what we've already moved, the approval, subject to the correction,
Okay,
corrections identified
so that's already been moved
and seconded.
and seconded. So Steve,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yeah,
motion passes. Item 6D, discussion of emergency disaster plan. In front of you, you have the EDP that goes over everything. This is the old one, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no,
Yeah,
It's updated. This one's updated.
it's kind of halfway between the old and the new. Some updates have been made.
I will say under my phone number, that needs changed. I think I have my phone number listed as Steve's phone number, right?
Yes,
So that should be 515-971-0160.
Megan, what's your phone number?
515-336-9473.
Perfect.
Do we have an assistant fire chief?
Yes,
Yes.
Shelby.
Shelby's, what's Shelby's first name? Or Shelby his first name, what's his last name?
Shelby Patterson.
Patterson.
Shelby Patterson.
And that's probably, his phone number is probably not considered public, right? It's not a public record.
Well, we need some phone number, and this is a public document.
515-231.
Now, we certainly could put his home phone instead of a cell phone.
They don't have one.
Oh.
6309.
23160 what?
6309.
309.
Do they still make phone calls?
Yeah, I have one.
He just has to crank until the operator picks up.
But you had to get those across.
Yeah.
Shelby Patterson in both those places.
Does this go over how we
Well, let's take a look at page 1.
Yep.
And the rally point, Maxwell City Hall, Fire Station. In some places we say Maxwell City Hall / Fire Station / Library.
this area.
Yeah, and so we should probably put a / library on that line.
city services campus?
There you go. Everyone knows where that is. The alternate meeting location, water plant. We might want to say water plant / public works shed.
So water plants.
Water
on the
plant
South side.
on the
town,
south
yeah.
side, sheds right there. just says we report to the rally point within 20 minutes. And the Maxwell EDP is activated within 30 minutes of the disaster's end.
Which I think we did pretty good this
Yeah.
last time. And I would be.
I would say that you did pretty good and Tony did pretty good. I didn't get down there and kick in. So one of the things that this thing says on the purpose and intent page and dissemination of printed plans is that a copy of the plan is kept at City Hall, Public Works, local fire department, and all members of the council, mayor, fire chief, assistant fire chief, public works director will have a copy. So
Do we need
as
ice?
part of their go bag. And it's probably a good idea to make sure that a written copy is available rather than online, because you have a big disaster, you lose internet, and you can't get to them.
We know that.
Yeah,
No internet for days.
no, I agree with you. I think we did a pretty good job on this last time.
Number 4 needs to be changed. It's a secondary collection site, figure 8 track. That should probably be called truck pull. The younger generation probably isn't gonna remember a figure 8 track.
They're gonna be like, what?
Where's that? How come I haven't seen it?
Yeah.
Bring that back.
So,
I agree.
no kidding.
So, yeah, any place where you see figure 8, we'll do a global change to truck pull. Good point. We ready for page 2?
What's the North Cemetery Field? Is that the Oaks edition?
No,
North of the
that's like
cemetery.
where Link's buried.
The north half of
He's
the
only one that's
cemetery,
up there
the
buried
new
buried
addition,
north.
Across from Jim's old place.
Are we gonna need to move this landing zone at some point? We're going to spring, probably not now.
No.
Or is there only one headstone there?
for this next year.
Right.
Okay.
Since this should be updated at least every 2 years.
Okay.
For this next year, I don't think it's gonna be a problem landing helicopter there.
Perfect.
But it's not that, the North Cemetery is not only for helicopters. The plan also calls it as a location for delivery of supplies, along with the water tower site and Plunkett's, which you need these delivery sites on the outskirts, because you don't want, if, like it was with all the trees down, you can't
Gotta be able
always
to
get
get
in.
in from the east to north.
But at least you'll be able to get that far and drop off supplies or whatever. And so the north, at least for now, the North Cemetery is still a reasonable place. But even if it is filled up in the future, you have driveways where you can drop stuff off.
Do we also, I might be getting ahead of myself. Do we have a mobile hotspot that the city owns?
Yes,
Okay. I want to make sure of that because
that's how Tony gets internet down at the city shed.
Actually, it's out at the sewer lagoons.
Oh, it's out the lagoons?
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
And if all fails, EMS has one.
Okay.
Okay, page 2.
Page 2. We might want to swap the hazardous material sites and the developed waste material sites. Hazardous materials are things that you need a hazmat truck to get rid of. And putting that stuff at the figure 8 track or the sewage treatment plant might be better than having it at the city shed. If it's hazmat material, we would want it as far away from people as we want, I think.
So what did the truck pull and then what else?
The sewage treatment plant, it just switched the locations between number 5 and 6. Because if there was a tornado that came through, there would be a lot of developed waste collection. And having that at the city shed or the county shed or the rodeo grounds, it would make it fairly accessible and isolated. So I think that works out better if you switch those.
Where's the county road shed? Is that
East
little
of-
shed down by?
Yeah.
East of Greg, yeah.
Okay.
And then on phase 2, establish operations communication. How did that work at this last time? We didn't really have email, cell phones, or landlines available. We had the radio. So I'd say primary is two-way radios, and then move email, cell phone, and landlines down to secondary. Does that make sense?
Do we have access to ham radios as a,
Know anybody that does that here?
used to, I don't live here anymore, and actually they're dead now, but,
I don't.
I think in an emergency, you don't have to be certified to use ham radios.
Has anybody got the equipment?
You can buy them pretty cheap online. There's
I know there's a Story County ham radio club,
Right.
and so they would just make contact with them and find out,
See if they got somebody in the area that can.
see if there's somebody in the area, or see how they would be able to assist us if we needed it, and then put a name or contact information in on that line.
Okay, so they're removing email, cell phone, and landline to line secondary.
Yeah, and leaving two-way radios
Yep.
primary. When this was done originally, the two-way radios weren't all that great, but they're a whole lot better system today.
and the thing with ham
I don't
radio,
know, because during that whole time, we
Story
could not talk to Story County.
well, we were,
They don't have all their towers up yet, right?
yeah, we could still talk from station to station. We just couldn't talk to Story County.
To the main people.
Probably because we're not Nevada or Ames. Nevada and Ames said, oh, we could talk to Story County just fine.
We were having trouble. I could see other secondary road employees and couldn't hear them.
Really?
And is it because we don't have all the towers up yet?
I don't have a clue why.
At my meeting with them, that's what they said.
Okay.
So,
And that makes sense because it was a couple year build out. So,
which is another reason those ham radios will come in handy, because you can essentially put up your own antenna, mobile antenna, and reach, I don't know, what is it, 10 miles or
What I
whatever.
did.
well, maybe the ham radio club can answer the question, an emergency, can anybody do it? And, for a few $1,000s, have some equipment on the shelf that, we could turn on if needed.
They make a cool one that's completely in a case. You open it up, you put the PVC tubing together, put your antenna up, and you're off and on. So you got a base station that people can carry around. All right,
Sounds like
Page
we got
3,
a New ham radio operator in
Yeah.
town.
I don't want to take the test.
Thanks,
Maxwell Disaster Liaison has a budget of $200 that they can authorize on the spot if they are up at the Story County Emergency Operations Center. $200.
It's not a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, in an instance like we had earlier this year, that person would have been up there for 5 days.
This says that we will dispatch somebody up there if we need to coordinate. And Story County Emergency Management needs to decide whether or not they want to have somebody come up to
Gotcha.
coordinate. And did they ask for somebody to go up?
No.
Okay.
No.
So we may want to look at the $200 and see whether or not that's reasonable. Operations, initial scope of damage assessment. That's running around and getting your initial. And it has the lead of D and the alternate lead of Alex. Do we want to switch those so that the lead is Alex?
We can, but I can tell you, since I work for the road department,
In
doesn't
a
matter what the
disaster.
disaster is, I'm most likely gonna go in.
Which I think that's why you are an alternate, because you're kind of firsthand and seeing some damage around Story County on the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Assets needed. Story County has a program where you put the data directly in. You need to run the app on a cell phone, a tablet, or a laptop. You have to have internet to the access to actually upload the data. You can collect it without. And the person needs to be trained. So we may want to expand on the assets needed on that. Yeah, I have it. I have it on my cell phone.
does it need data?
Yes.
Doesn't need data to collect.
Okay.
It needs the data to
Send.
upload.
Okay.
So you can go out and collect on the emergency basis. And then when you get to some place that has internet service, you can upload it.
Okay.
Page 4, the search and rescue operations, we should have an alternate lead of Shelby. And for setting up operation and triage centers, do we want Shelby the lead and Ken the alternate?
We can do that. Is that okay with you?
That'd be fine with me. He's EMS chief.
Yeah, that's kind of where I thought maybe
Yeah,
those should be
I
switched
agree with
around.
that. Yeah.
Transportation and route clearing, Tony the lead. That's pretty much what he did on this last one, right?
You can put Tony / the
New person.
Yeah. assistant,
City assistant,
yeah, the public works
public
assistant.
works assistant.
I didn't have anything else on that page. Page 5. Accountability, property, and persons. Deb Hayes.
What about the first one? Public safety man.
I didn't make any changes on it.
Okay, all right.
It's all you, Alex.
If I'm here,
I think Tony ends up getting a lot of this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so maybe we need to, after we get it all done, take a look at whether or not there's alternates. And if we get an alternate public works person, then that should fill into a lot of these places. Accountability, property, and persons. Instead of Steve Gast as the alternate lead, I'd say D Gibbs. So Deb and D are doing it. They're dealing with FEMA, Iowa Homeland Security, getting count of property losses and all that. Those two are doing that. Visual recording of damage. Instead of Ken Jans on the alternate, I think Megan would be a good person for that.
What do you think, Megan?
For visual recording?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
thank you. And then when you get down to management, Operation J, Juliet, management of collection points, landing zones, and other supply points. The lead should probably be the assistant fire chief, except that now, since the assistant fire chief is really the EMS chief, and the EMS chief is gonna be busy, we probably need, and Tony's kind of busy.
You wanna throw me on that?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
That's essentially what we did last time.
Yeah, if there's something gonna be delivered, if we need to have, a helicopter land, just organizing those sites and making sure that everything goes well. Under support operations for phase 3, local businesses, it is now called Central Iowa Shortline. So make that change.
Dollar General,
Oh, yeah.
Casey's. And even last time, KT.
Yeah.
I mean, they provided a
KT's
lot of
for
food.
food.
Yeah.
do we want a story medical on that? Is that considered business or what?
Sure.
What'd you
Yeah,
think?
can
Story
Story
medical.
medical,
Would we want that under the emergency medical response?
which they are.
The hospital is, of course, it's the same thing, so.
So Casey's and Dollar General and
KT's.
KT for nutrition. Casey's fuel. Dollar General miscellaneous supplies.
Do we wanna put the school on fuel too?
Do they still have bulk fuel? I thought they got
We-
LP.
We have both diesel, and I think we also have both gasohol too. Anything else on that page?
No. And I didn't have anything else on the next page. That takes us through the whole thing.
So once we get this updated, I think it'd be a good idea to get it binded and put into packets for each individual person.
Only question I have with that is, should the lead positions on all those be filled by a city employee? Because my position could change, Ken's could change, Steve's could change, the mayor's could change. At least then, the people that are here and have been here can have an idea. Because quite honestly, if you would have called me and said, get out your disaster plan, I'd have said, what?
That's why we're going over there. We didn't realize we had one.
It worked though.
We only have a staff of 4 people when we are fully staffed.
Yep.
And I think some of the activities on here, council, if you add the council people and the mayor, then that increases the staff from 4 to 10. And some of these activities, I mean, I wouldn't expect a council person to direct street clearing, but there are other activities like management of the delivery sites that a council person, the mayor certainly could do, and take some of the pressure off of staff that are going to be.
I guess my thought was, is if we had our staff as the lead, then they could delegate from there. If Tony's busy doing other things, then he can say, you are the next person in line, you take care of it. But then you've got
So list the staff as the primary person, and then a
council or mayor person can then step in and relieve some of the
As the
responsibilities as needed. But one disaster might be different from the next, and we might not need street clearing or hell, you know, stuff like that. So just food for thought.
Well, sounds reasonable to me.
That's why we're having this discussion. So.
Well, make the changes, do like you said, and have a city staff person be the lead on all the activities, with a council person as being the alternate. And they may, when you actually get to the emergency, they may not be available, and you may have to go to somebody else, but at least this gives the beginning, and a person can think about what they need to do, and be ready for it in an emergency, which is the whole purpose of having a plan.
And actually, the way it looks after rewriting and looking at all this, the leads are everybody except for Foxtrot. And Alex is the lead, and Tony is the alternate. We just switch that around, and otherwise the rest of these look like city personnel being lead contract. Except for, I see the disaster liaison, Doug and Steve. But
which is something that we can determine at that time.
Right.
Anything else for the EDP? Hearing nothing, we are going to move on to item 6E, moving right along. Discussion and action on Public Works Assistant. In front of you, you have a position description that Deb put together as kind of a convolute of area job descriptions. So if you guys want to look over that, if you have any questions, anything that needs to be changed, we can change those. Otherwise, we will take a motion.
Well, under the job function, it says performs work under general direction, period. And do we want to say performs work under general direction of the Public Works Director?
Okay.
So that there's no doubt as to who's in charge and who takes direction.
Yes, I agree with that.
Perfect.
And none of the job function says anything about being available for EMS calls.
That's what I was just gonna say.
I forgot about that.
So, do we want to add on to the end of it that something like is interested in qualifying as EMS volunteer and being available to participate in EMS calls during working hours as
First responder qualifications wouldn't necessarily.
Well, that would get down under qualifications.
Right.
So under the job, we've discussed this for a month.
Yep.
Do we want to have in the job functions that we will provide preference to someone if they are interested in being an EMS volunteer?
I think that would be a good idea.
Could we maybe, I don't know if we have to put it in here or when we advertise it, but would it be worth maybe offering a bump in pay if they're willing to do that?
Yeah, none of this has pay. And
This doesn't
that
deal
would
with
be,
that,
that
okay.
would be another, do we want to have a, pay range?
I would say,
And do we want to, later under qualifications, we say they must have a commercial driver's license, but don't we also want them, to have a, applicator's license so that they can put in weed, killer in the park?
Don't quote me on this, but can't they run under Tony's license?
Yes. As far as,
But
Treatment.
if Tony's not here or not available, or he walks away from the job, do we then not want to do it?
No, I'm fairly certain.
I
like,
think you
don't-
still can, because
don't-
under
yeah.
under the same deal with treating seed, or
Yeah.
when I was a pioneer, our treaters were not we never had to be licensed or anything because our manager was. Now, our
Yeah.
manager wasn't there every day, but we treated seed most
Yeah,
every day.
that's something that I
We
think
didn't
we
treat
should
seed
maybe
because
clarify.
he wasn't, we didn't treat seed because he wasn't there, but we would all fall under
Yeah.
his license.
Okay,
And we,
and if your manager quit, could you still do it?
no, not at that time we couldn't.
I don't know. So,
the
we
other
have,
thing,
we have that question, and then we have the question of, licenses, to operate the water plant and licenses to operate the sewer plant. And what we've done in the past is, we would take somebody without those certificates and say, okay, within X number of months, you got to get your certificate. And at that point in time, there's a bump in pay. And so, if we want them to get a chemical application certificate, there'd be a bump, the water plant operations a bump, and the sewer plant operations a bump over and above, their, regular increases. And so, do we want those, or some of those added in addition to the CDL?
do you typically put that in these job descriptions, or is that something that is said during the job interview? Because I know several,
I would think that if you didn't have it in the job description,
then they won't.
They wouldn't expect
then,
them to do it.
it would be hard to enforce,
I think a lot
if
of
they
times
don't qualify.
you see these type of jobs where it says, like Steve was saying, within 6 months, we expect you to have this license. If not, I don't know, are they gonna be on
Makes
probation?
determination easier if you have to go that
Right,
route.
yeah, probation.
Is 6 months pretty the average
I don't know.
in the past, Steve? I know you.
We have had,
With COVID-19,
a 1 year
it's probably hard to get a test.
requirement on, I think, didn't Tony have a year on the water plant?
Yes, but he was the director. The guy wasn't the assistant.
And, but Doug did have some license, didn't he?
He had spraying license,
He had the spraying license,
So
and that was it.
or the mosquito, one or the other. He had one of them.
I would say license to operate water treatment and water treatment plant within 12 months of hire. That's typically what they did with my job at the school. It was licensure within 6 months of hire, and that's kind of how it was.
And I'm not sure with water and sewer, there's a specific amount of time that they have to work under somebody
Is that
Yeah.
Before they can get a license.
before they can.
And then
get
they
it.
only offer the courses certain times of the year, and we did have problems getting I don't know if it's Tony or somebody else, getting their certificate within the required time, because they just didn't offer the courses and the tests.
So what if you take the time limit off and say willingness to get licensed to operate water treatment plant and wastewater treatment plant? Then you take it off, but you still set that expectation that we want you to get that.
Yeah, or we give them longer than 12
I don't
months.
think you take it
24
off.
months.
I think you put a
I think
time
it needs to
limit.
still be included.
18 months maybe.
And if we have to amend it, then it's
Yeah,
not
then we have
because
to
of,
amend it. We can always amend it, but I would say minimum 18 months.
Okay. So we will add
So
that.
I would have no 18 to 24 months.
You should
Should be able to,
have your license by then.
should be able to have the experience so that you can then take the test and get the license.
Okay, obtain license to operate water treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant within 18 to 24 months of hire. Is everybody good with that?
It says should be able to get a CDL within 6 months
Or maybe
to a year.
6 months should do it.
three months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's different levels of CDL, as I think you told me. Where
Yes,
Maybe.
there's different levels. I mean, he's not going to.
We
We
don't have
wouldn't need
air
air brakes or any of that.
Right.
Is the DOT truck? They got
Air
air
brakes.
brakes?
Didn't think they did, maybe.
I don't know if it does now.
I don't
It's
know.
that Wayne's truck. I don't know.
I don't think so.
If it does, there's air brakes. He might have to have hazardous if he's on a certain amount of chemical for, if he goes and gets a tote of chemical from somewhere or whatever. Might have to have hazardous. It depends on all your, is it 99 gallons? Is it 999 gallons or whatever? Depends on what the chemical is and what, you know.
I think the CDL license we're looking for is just a simple,
Basic one.
basic CDL.
Probably a B, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
The changes that I have so far are under job functions. We want it to say performs work under general direction of the Public Works Director. After, the last sentence of that, where it ends in or weakens as necessary, preference given to those interested in being an EMS volunteer. I think that should be preference given to those who are willing to get certified as an
Yeah.
EMT. Because they can become a volunteer and just drive.
Being a certified EMS volunteer.
I agree.
Okay. And then the only other one is the one that we just talked about. They need to obtain licenses to operate water treatment plant and wastewater treatment plant within 18 to 24 months of hire.
Does Tony have his applicator's license, Deb?
Yes.
Any other changes to this?
I did not have any other
What were we
changes.
gonna say about, what did we say about EMS then?
Uh,
Anything?
the preference given to those interested in being a certified EMS volunteer.
Okay,
So we're giving preference, but we don't make it a requirement. Is that
okay, that's fine.
That's why we're taking it.
I think if you make it a requirement, you're not gonna have it.
That's fine.
I think we should offer a pay bump if they do it.
They get $15 a call. Is that what it is?
And this,
I think an hourly wage, because they're gonna be a full-time on-call EMS provider, 8 hours a day.
My thought about, I don't disagree with you, for the record. I just don't think we need to put pay on the.
No, I agree. I think that's a different.
Are you guys going to make this a full-time position,
Was Doug a full-time?
No.
nope, 30 hours.
30 hours a week?
What's our budget say for salaries? We're gonna be way over budget this year because of everything anyway. Not saying that we should add another full-time employee, but it's everybody's thought.
Well, we have the budget for, assistant public works person
At 30 hours.
at 30 or 32 hours, I can't remember which.
Okay.
But we used Doug's current rate, didn't we? Which is not necessarily where somebody would be starting.
What was Doug's current rate? Approximately.
About 18, I think.
18. So this person, if it is somebody pretty green, it'd probably be what, 15?
I can tell you what the county starts at.
What do they start out?
If you have a CDL, well, you have to have a CDL to start there. You start out at 1925.
That's part-time.
That's full.
The winter snowplow people,
They only did that, last year was the very first time, and I haven't been around enough to know what they even got paid.
oh, okay. Well, if you're talking about, $19 an hour, times, 30 hours a week, times, 52 weeks in a year. Well, 52,
29,640.
so we're talking about $30,000, and,
I say maybe
would
19.
would $30,000, get somebody who's willing to put up with all of this for, 30 to 32 hours a week?
I think if you got somebody that just graduated,
I think you're gonna have a hard time finding somebody who just graduated to come work 30 to 32 hours a week.
or you
I
say,
don't
hey,
think
we'll
I'm-
pay you $30,000 a year for a 40-hour-a-week job.
Yeah.
I can tell you that's the issue we're having at the school right now is
What's that?
finding people to get a job that pays as much as small town Iowa pays. Do we have somebody in mind already for this? Nobody? What other thoughts do you guys have?
Well, if we went full-time, it would increase it from about $30,000 a year to close to 40.
Yeah, 39.5.
That's just wages.
Yep, that doesn't include
That
diapers.
include
Right.
Insurance and,
We don't offer insurance.
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 I think it's gonna be hard finding somebody at $19 an hour requiring all those certifications. If you're gonna compete with,
You guys are gonna start out more than what you started Tony out at, and he's the director.
there's people that started at the county that make more than I do.
And pretty soon you can be more than I do, and I've got 12 years in here.
Yeah.
Problem is gonna be,
You're not,
if we pay more, does that mean come next year, we're gonna have to bump everybody up?
Well, yeah.
And then we're getting to that messy budget.
And I think our budget's in the world of hurt anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Have we heard anything back from Tiana on numbers? Nothing.
We can always try with a low amount. If we don't get anything for that, then we come back to the drawing board.
How many certifications are we gonna require then? You've got the water and the sewer, the applicators. Those,
On CDL.
yeah, I don't, say maybe for the water and sewer, maybe if we started them, we can try, maybe start up at like 14, 15 and offer $1 per.
which is pretty much what we did for Tony in the past. The question becomes, as long as we have a certified operator, can we have other people working under that certification?
For the water and sewer?
Water, sewer, and application. And if we can, then as long as Tony's here, we're just fine, right? If if Tony were to leave, then we would have to get a certified operator until we could replace him. And we've done that for years also. So maybe we don't have any of these certification requirements in if we know that they can run under Tony's certification. And we start out with the $14 an hour and
$1 per every
and then
certification.
if
I
they
don't
are
think that's
ambitious and wish to get these other certifications, we certainly give them a bump because that also gives them a leg up on moving on to higher paid jobs elsewhere. And we've certainly used that Maxwell as a springboard in the past, stepping stone, so that people get started here, they get job experience, and they move on because we can't afford to keep them.
Is everybody in agreement with that?
So do we take that out of the requirements then? That's what you're suggesting?
Yeah. Unless, yeah, as long as the person can work under Tony's license, then we wouldn't need it in this person's licensing.
Could we say preferred? Under objections? Preferred licenses to operate water treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant.
Because it's not a requirement of the job.
Okay.
If somebody comes in with it, we can
They already have it.
give them and
They have to pay on that. This,
So the changes, going back to the beginning here, we got the change number 1 under the direction of Public Works Director. And then the last thing in that job function is preference in those who are interested in becoming a certified EMS volunteer.
Should we include firefighter 1? And or, I don't know how many firefighters around during the day. I don't work on the town, so I don't know.
Tony, myself.
well,
and
yeah, Tony,
This is Marshall.
if we have,
Misha.
Tony goes on all the calls.
Yeah.
And so we have at least one volunteer during the day. And if this other person were to become EMS certified,
Mhm.
then we would have a volunteer
On
for each of them, which is kind of what we talked about.
And then the last one, under qualification A, we prefer license to operate water treatment plant and wastewater treatment plant. Any other changes on that? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve with changes the job descriptions in front of you?
So moved.
Moved by Steve,
Second?
second by Alex, discussion. Hearing none, Steve,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes,
Ken.
yeah,
Passes. Cool. Moving on to item 7A, complaints. Oh, it looks like, do you have something to say to the council?
No, I just need to let Deb know I've never received my water bill for this month, and if she could remail me one, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
There you go.
Why don't we,
I was gonna
hold
let
up
you know
until,
for
Deb can get back to taking them.
Perfect.
No, I'm not trying to be.
I did listen in a while. I heard Wes's comments. Hard to hear though.
Yeah, it is
It is hard to hear.
from the cheap seats over here.
We need to have.
A new
Yeah, my
phone
system is lacking.
Well, yeah, it was difficult when I was calling in a couple months ago though.
Yeah, that's my
I never
first
told
time.
when we were all calling.
I think, conference call puck is a couple $100, and they have
Is that all those
Yeah.
mics work?
better mics.
No, those were for, yeah, but we couldn't get it
Oh.
up, so.
What's a spider phone?
It's
It's just
got
a phone
legs.
that has individual microphones.
Oh.
You put around, so
Connected.
they're all connected.
Have a good night.
You can.
Okay, that's back.
All right,
Thanks, Deb.
7A complaints. In front of you, got one complaint. That had to do with a loud party on 90 Main Street.
That's me.
And then an officer was dispatched to the location for an underage drinking party.
I think the complaint isn't about really the party, it's more the lack of policing for what we pay.
Pay $60,000 a year and don't have. And I think we went over that last month too, the amount of time they spend in our city. I mean, it's,
I was looking over that. And it was like 31 hours over the month that they spent here. Some of them I didn't understand at all. 8 hours up on an address of North Street.
They forgot to clock out, I think, that's what Deb said last time. Or they,
If they decided
So
they might
we're
be
gonna
called back,
knock that
they'll leave
down
it
to
on.
23 hours then,
Yeah.
or 24 hours then, so, or whatever, but, Sunday. No, was it Sunday? Thursday night? They were parked behind Casey's doing paperwork. Does that count as policing? I guess it does.
they do count it. I mean,
They count it, but what good is it to see what's going on Main Street if you're parked behind Casey's for, I played in the park with my kids for over half an hour. They were there.
Something's got to give. I mean,
I guess my thing is I know maybe what some of our residents, if they call in a complaint, might not be important to them, but the fact the city pays for that service, if it's important for one of our citizens to call in, then it needs to be handled appropriately.
Right. Especially if we're paying.
Yeah.
If we're paying or not, it's 911 call.
Yeah.
They still should report.
All needs followed up.
Well, the person to talk to is the sheriff. And, a face-to-face would probably be the most effective, rather than
So
sending an
I'll just
email.
throw in what I've been doing the last 3 weeks is I have talked to Nancy. Nancy's given me a job description of what she does, or what police officer in Nevada does, and what her job description is for this county.
City.
And city. And then, so I've taken those, I kind of looked at them. I have contacted Daryl Kennedy over in, he's the police chief, or fire chief over in Collins. Talked to him on the telephone about this public safety officer idea I had again. He wants me to take it to the Collins City Council meeting. But before I do that, I would like to talk to, and I've been in contact now, I got emails from Rick Martinez, the police chief in Nevada. And he had emailed me back so that fire chief and city
Administrator.
administrator knows about it too. He, only thing I told him was I was looking for maybe possibly having Nevada cover us and using them as not only EMS, which would be the minimum, but police force too, which would be more of what they could do all day long. And so I didn't go into very many details with him, and so he asked me for some more details, and so I sent him back a letter today. Haven't heard back from him, but I think we're going to meet. He wants to meet yet, so we'll talk to him, see if this money that we use for the sheriff's office can't go up there. If Collins is on board, that's another about the same amount. I think it's a little less. I just noticed they are looking to hire another person, police officer, too.
To
So
replace.
to take place of somebody?
So, yeah, they've had a couple people leave.
Okay.
So
I
it's
didn't
just replacement.
know. Okay.
And I know
So,
the school's frustrated too. I mean, they used to get somebody to stop in at the school and check in, and
yeah.
we haven't gotten anything.
So,
And they would be around during when school was starting and the school was ending. You got kids peeling out all over the place.
so I know that we're paying the, what was it,
57.5.
57.5 to the sheriff's office. I think theirs was 53, maybe close to 55, if not. So, you're talking another 108. And then we're talking about more equipment too, a vehicle for the down here, some equipment or whatever. So I don't know what that, it's cost prohibitive. That's Rick's question, but he doesn't know what monies I think we can offer towards it. And if we have to, maybe we can up it a little bit too. So to get more of a police force down here
It'd be nice.
/ EMS. The biggest thing for the EMS thing is knowing somebody who's got first responders training, if not EMT training, that can go right to the scene and be one of the,
I'm pretty sure they're all EMT certified.
yeah, so.
And can show up to a police call.
And that was the other thing.
Call,
That was my
call
other,
Story County or
that was my
Nevada.
other thing was if something's going on in Story County on the northwest corner and you have a 2-car, 3-car accident down here, what's it take to get the Story County Sheriff's Office car down there? He's in the area. Let's say he's in Huxley, he still has to drive 15 miles over here. Where if this person was
Between
here and Collins, he could be here in 5 to 7, 10 minutes.
Mhm.
My neighbor's dog's barking. They call. He can at least go over and check that out. This kid's running around squealing his tires. Do that. Not only that, but I read. I was trying to figure out if there's some monies somewhere, and one of the grants was from a woman's group because of abuse. Small towns without police coverage have more abuse than any other place because they know there's nobody around.
Mhm.
So, there's that too. So, anyway, that's where I've been for the last 3 weeks. So we can talk about that later once I get a hold of Rick and get a meeting with him. We do have a meeting scheduled for the 18th at 9 o'clock over here at the fire station between EMS, fire, Collins Fire, and a city representative from Collins to just hash things out. So
I think that's a great idea, especially if we could find the money to have branded equipment. And I mean, I think
doesn't have to be brand new.
No.
We get a utility truck off of
surplus item.
surplus item. It could be a used. I was just even thinking
They might have enough vehicles too.
They might have enough vehicles, a Blazer, type thing, 4-wheel drive, something to keep equipment in. But
I got lost. The meeting you're going to have,
the meeting we're having on October 18th at 9:00 a.m. was just set up between EMS, fire department, and then we invited Collins Fire and Collins and a representative if they wanted to come
and the purpose of that meeting is what?
to hash things out, talk about this, see where we stand, if it's good, if they're in, if they're out
For a new police officer?
for a public safety officer idea.
Do we know if they have EMS coverage during the day or fire coverage? Do we know?
They who?
Colin. We don't know any of that, so that's what the meeting's for.
They
Get
have-
everybody together.
We want to know if
Talk
they're
about
kind of in
it.
the same boat we're in.
Yeah. They might
Talking
be
to
happy.
Daryl, they do have better fire coverage than probably we do.
Yep.
Yeah, because they have Daryl.
And
on
they
there.
do have, but he lives in the
Yeah.
country, and so he still drives 7 miles into town.
Why do they have better fire coverage?
They have more people
Oh.
in town. And they have a couple more people in town for EMS, and I kind of heard that they're more interested really into the law enforcement side of it. And as I told him, we're not trying to eliminate anybody. We're not going to eliminate Maxwell EMS. We're not going to eliminate Collins EMS. This is this person who could be in the area to help.
And the equipment you're talking about is the equipment for the officer.
Equipment for the officer. So we're talking about a vehicle, whatever he needs to be an officer, possibly a defibrillator, a portable defibrillator, some EMS, whatever they carry for a first responder's bag, which is not much stuff really.
And they, like I said, I think we'll know more once we talk to Chief Martinez, because they could have all the vehicles.
Yeah.
They could have excess vehicles,
Yeah.
to be able to do this.
They
So,
who?
City of Nevada.
City of
Police Department.
Nevada.
So not necessarily just having our own separate person, but if we were to go with them and they were to send a person down.
Pretty much kind of like Huxley does with Cambridge probably. If I noticed right, Story County doesn't charge Cambridge anything because they have Huxley
Or Nevada.
or Nevada.
But they're still.
So if you
But they
go
still
to,
respond.
Yep.
so if you go to Come and Go and you're doing 63 mile an hour between Cambridge Corner and Huxley, you're gonna get a ticket from the Huxley Fire Department or police chief because he's sitting there waiting for you. But
Yeah, Story County Sheriff.
so I'm
The
proposing it
the
as,
service that Story County Sheriff would provide those communities is process serving.
And mutually.
Mutual aid if they're available.
Yeah.
But that would be, secondary. The law says the sheriff's office provides process serving for the court. And they provide police in the unincorporated area. And then they can contract to provide police in incorporated areas. They have no obligation to provide police in incorporated areas where that incorporated area has their own law enforcement.
Right.
Now, they may choose to have somebody there, they're not required to. So the expectation should be, if we have our own police department, that they're gonna do everything that they need to do. And, if they call in for backup, then the sheriff may come down and provide that backup. But, other than that, they are not obligated.
Which is no different than what we have now,
Okay.
really.
Or with with fire departments, with us in Cambridge or Collins, you know, we're not obligated, but that's what mutual aid's for.
Any other complaints? Deb, was there any other complaints that came in besides that one?
Just one about a garage in an alleyway.
Well, what's the garage doing in the alleyway? Doesn't it have to be on the owner's property?
Kind of fell over.
Yeah.
Oops.
We'll push it back in.
Kinda or did?
What's the status of Young's?
They have 15 more days. I sent it out right after the,
Okay. And that's the attorney or that's a letter from the city?
you guys just told me to send a letter to them.
Okay, so we're kind of starting at scratch again, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll circle back around on the,
What about the house on Maxwell Street?
I sent that over to the attorney with a bunch of information. They haven't gotten back to me yet.
Okay,
Main Street? House on Main? Any progress on that one?
So that one's going around and around. Now their attorney wants to, or their attorney got hold of our attorney and he just wants to demolish it all, demo it all, and leave it as an empty lot for right now.
and our attorney says that that meets the requirements of the law, right?
Both Gil and the new attorney that's working with Gil would rather not do it that way. They would rather go ahead because we've had the problems of him
Right.
not following through.
Okay, so they're still pursuing taking title because of it's been abandoned property
Right,
and not cutting them any slack.
right.
Okay, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that.
That's what we pay them for.
We got a lot of money wrapped up in it. We can't drop the ball now.
Are there any other outstanding complaints that need to be reported to the council?
Now I've taken pictures of the one down on Baldwin. And I'm writing up nuisances that I found. So I'll be writing up a letter to them.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else for Deb and complaints? Hearing none, we'll go to council reports, starting with you, Steve.
We had discussion last month about Old Settlers and Market in the Park. And I believe the council said they would make a decision the November meeting. Is that still on track? Are there any other questions concerning it?
As far as the decision being not to allow Maxwell's Market in the Park be down there at the same time.
Right.
Do we know the validity of the complaint?
Yeah, I was there and I saw it.
You saw it all shake down?
Yep.
Okay.
All happened exactly as was presented. We had Mark in the Park vendors saying that they had the right to their spot and that we had to vacate. And then they started moving around the safety barriers of the for the rides. They said that they would take us to court because they had the right for the spot and we didn't. They're just pretty much obnoxious. One of the vendors. Other vendors set up so the church stand couldn't operate. And on and on. I don't think we can have both events in the same physical location.
I was told that there was no issue with the church stand, that they had no problem with the church stand still doing their thing. Let's see. The sad part is that both of these things are good for our city.
Oh, I'm
And
not,
the back.
I'm not saying that they aren't, I'm just saying you can't have them both in the same spot. A Susie, wrote a nice little note, and she was absolutely correct in saying that, we have the rodeo going on, we have the church stand going on, we have the Southside Pullers going on, and they all get along well together. But they all get along well together because they are in different locations. They are not all trying to occupy the same space. The rodeo does their thing in their area. Southside Pullers do their thing in their area. The church stand is within the shelter, and we all support each other and do just fine. And the Mark in the Park does its thing. They do a great job. They have 70 vendors, and it's like fitting 2 pounds of crap in a 1 pound bag.
What if they waited until an hour or two later?
Their
Is that-
vendors, and we tried to work that out. Their vendors showed up at 10 o'clock and started setting up. So
But they were gonna open at 11 then, right? Was that their intention? No.
1:30.
If they're at 10 o'clock for a 1:30 open.
Yep, and many of them opened up before 1:30 because they were set up.
That park is huge.
Yeah,
There's a
plenty
lot of
room.
green space. I feel like we should be able to find a designated space and.
Yeah.
And just like Steve said, this is.
Yep.
This is what you get, and
Yeah,
if
if they
you
wanna
don't
do
like
that
it, don't
early,
have it that
yes.
weekend.
Yeah.
And, if you restrict old settlers to a certain geographic area, and we stay in that area. And, one time, Mark in the Park, was going to locate, south of Broad in the, soccer field and set everything up down there. And in a discussion that I had with them, we said, well, let's try doing this so that there's not that much disruption. Have the, we'll end our things at 1:30, and you can start right after that, and there shouldn't be any problem. My naivety, I didn't think about coming in early and setting up, and I should have. I mean, the vendors come in, they have to set up.
While I don't disagree with you, I think that there are two sides to this story. One of them that doesn't want to be shared because it doesn't want to have a black cloud over the market. But I think we need to realize that as well, that there are two sides to this. And the letter that we got was just one side. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
it's my side.
But we're not able to hear the other side, is that?
I can certainly ask if they want me to share it all. I was told that they were
No names need to be said.
Yep, I was told that they were harassed by one of the members of the Old Settlers Committee. And that it was all okayed from the beginning, so.
Well, in retrospect, it's the city-owned park. The city allows the events, so. Yep. What events go on Sunday at Old Settlers? Is there a volleyball game, or is that earlier in the weekend?
That's usually on Thursday.
Yeah.
Sunday, maybe a breakfast
Yeah.
in the park. The church service,
Community
the
services.
church dinner, and the raffle. And in the past, we've had the Southside Pullers doing their thing. And we have, in the afternoon, on the other side of the drainage way, we have the horseshoe.
Oh.
Now, the horseshoe wasn't affected this year because it was on the other side of the drainage way. And the issue was all along the park road.
Yeah.
If the market of the park moves south of the ditch, then that they may be impacted. If they go south of Broad, they wouldn't be.
Is there there's no softball or baseball teams that day, is there?
On Sunday, we didn't have one this year.
Not this year.
Normally, there is.
We have had some softball tournaments on Sunday afternoon in the past.
Didn't JD have a baseball something tournament? That's not gonna happen again, so.
If the way Old Settlers works is that anybody who wants to organize something and get on the calendar certainly can do it. We used to have a 5K run until the person who organized it got tired of doing it every year, and so it kind of dropped off. If somebody else was to come up with something they'd like to do, shoot, add it to the plan as long as we have the facilities available. This year, both of these, the farmers or the market in the park is just too large and cause problems with the carnival. You know, we don't want to lose a carnival because we all remember what it's like to have Old Settlers without a carnival. And he was pretty upset at being yelled at and having his fences moved.
I think we can have a decision by November 2nd.
We need to have, Old Settlers would like to have direction from the council as to whether, how they're going to try to work this out in the future so that when we're planning Old Settlers next year, we know what we're supposed to do. If we're not supposed to do anything on Sunday, then we need to know that ahead of time and
I don't think anybody's saying that we're not supposed to have anything on Sunday.
well,
I think what it comes down to is there could have been a miscommunication. I wasn't down there, so I don't know what happened. I just have 2 or 3 sides of this whole story going back and forth, so.
yeah, I put mine in writing so that it would be available and people could take pot shots at it.
And I think that there will be another one come November 2nd. So.
Yeah.
What else do you have for us, Steve?
That's it. Oh, no. We're gonna have to do a budget amendment this year anyway. We have lined up all the financing for the shelter at the Freedom Rock. And we're ready to order it. It's what would be constructed as a shop project by Waddingham with supervision and help from Legion and VFW members. And to order the thing, it's going to take $23,000, and the first $1,000 of it goes to getting sealed plans, because it's going to have to pass all building inspection requirements. So my suggestion, since the city has to do a budget amendment anyway, is that all the funds for this flow to the city, that the city do the purchase, because that way you can save $1,000 in taxes, and anything we save can certainly go into improving the site. So we just provide all the cash to the city, and the city do the purchase, and make sure that it meets all code requirements.
So you're suggesting to us, obviously we'd be reimbursed for what, 14,000?
Well, now it's 17,000, like $17,000, 17,300. Some the Maxwell Area Renewal Committee would write a check to the city. The Legion would write a check to the city. The VFW would write a check to the city. The city's $7,000 is already in the city's account, and as soon as you have the cash in hand, you can we can put in the order, and I can certainly do the ordering for the city, or work with them so the order gets done. It's just that the original plan was each of those organizations would write checks to the vendor, and the city would still order it, and they would write a check to the vendor. And so on the city's books, it would only be a $7,000 expenditure. Now you're going to have revenue and a $23,000 expenditure. But we have to do a budget amendment anyway, so they'll just work in with the other budget amendments.
Do you all have an issue with that?
Sounds good.
That's fine.
I'll work with Deb to get it accomplished. That's it.
Alex?
Well, last meeting, I believe Nancy brought up having somebody contact the attorney and check into seeing if EMS could charge for reoccurring calls. I want to update on that if there is one.
I don't think there is one right now.
Okay. I've noticed just in the last couple weeks, I kind of talked to Doug about this too. A lot of nuisance. I know at one time everybody went around, we made a list for nuisance properties. That actually might have been last year.
That was parking issues, wasn't it?
There's parking issues, but we also went around and made pretty much a master list
Before that.
of nuisance properties.
Before you were on it, so maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah. The pictures and then the ordinances that they were violating and so on and so forth. I'm going to try and make time before November 2nd meeting to go around and try and keep up on that. At one time, we also spoke about getting monthly reports on those properties, having something in that we could keep track of the addresses, the violations, where we're at in the process. I still think that'd be a good idea.
So like a spreadsheet.
Yeah, just happens. I mean, there's a lot of houses in town, so it's hard to,
This month, they did nothing.
especially with
Next
COVID.
month, They
Yep.
picked this stuff up. or moved this.
You know, when COVID happened, that all kind of went away. It was all new over the phone and that kind of stuff. So,
And probably instead of having it under reports, just move complaints to, an action item on the agenda. Because under reports, we can look at it, but then we can't make any decisions.
Yeah.
True.
And so if we're going to,
Yeah.
try to keep on
Yep,
top
yeah.
of things, it should always be an action item. And probably right before the council and mayor reports, always have an item, action concerning, citizen complaints.
and I just want to double check. Is there an ordinance about trailers parked in the parking? Unhooked for several days.
Nope. We started in that direction and, the consensus of the council that I got was that, we should, there wasn't a concern and we should move on.
Wouldn't it fall under the same thing as if I park my car on the parking for an extended period of time? I have to move it every so often.
What about a boat?
There is a
Or a
requirement,
motorcycle trailer.
there is a requirement in the ordinance, that, the city can mark something as an abandoned vehicle if it hasn't been moved within 72 hours. Is that right, Deb?
I believe so.
I'm just,
I think there is. But
I'm noticing a
what-
lot of
what-
trailers
What
sitting
you
on the
have to
parking.
do,
And boats, and you
Yeah.
said
well,
anything.
any vehicle, and a vehicle is anything that can be towed on the road, doesn't have to be licensed, moved on its own power or towed or whatever. So any vehicle, would be subject to that. And so what you have to do is you have to, just like the highway patrol does, you have to mark it as having, been, as being suspicious of being abandoned,
Okay.
so that they have, whoever owns it has notification that they should move it. And that notice has to also indicate that 72 hours, blah, blah, blah. And then after 72 hours, you can go and tow it.
Okay.
And then you have all the liability of towing it, which means, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
But most of that is something that we've always had our police do, the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
Go and put a notice on it. And this is like the camper that was parked at, Fourth and Maxwell. We told the sheriff went out, put a notice on it. The people moved it and,
Was it the south side of Fourth?
yes,
Okay, that's the same property.
okay.
Same.
Are they,
There's a boat that's been parked in the parking quite a while. They've got a motorcycle trailer on Fourth that's parked on the south side facing west. It's probably been there for 2
on
years.
Maxwell Street or Fourth?
Both. They have a boat on
One
Maxwell.
on each, yeah.
Yeah, and one on Fourth.
I just wrote a ticket on the car. What was that? 2 weeks ago?
That Jeep?
Yeah. They finally moved it. Okay, wrote a ticket. I don't know
Now it's
if they
parked
did.
the wrong way on the wrong side of the street. They moved it 50 yards west.
Another ticket. If it's parked the wrong direction on the street, that's another ticket.
And hasn't been moved since. So yeah, if we can get the sheriff down here, we'll get some good out of it.
Yeah, the
Well,
camper just got dropped off here
Another
and
good job.
unfolded and everything on the parking.
The
So I
sheriff,
just,
the sheriff deals with the abandoned.
I'm just
doesn't deal
saying.
with,
You take care
Parking.
of this crap.
Okay.
I'm not past it.
but I mean, right now, it doesn't look the best, but what's gonna cause an issue is when we get snow. And if they're not moving them now, they're not gonna go out there and dig through snow to hook up to it, to move it, to allow Tony to remove the snow efficiently, and it's just,
The way they keep it going, it could happen anytime.
yeah.
Or they'll get a nice little bill in the mail that says they have to fix the plow.
The, in the past, I've ridden with Tony when he's pushing snow. We, are required to push snow out of the travel lanes. And as a service, we, push snow out of the parking. Wherever there is an improved parking, so it's hard surface. And so if some of these things are parked in the right of way, but they're over on grass, we don't push snow there anyway. And so we haven't issued tickets. It's only when they make it so that Tony has to move the vehicle, move his snow plow out of their way. Where they
Placing
are
otherwise
obstructing
moved.
traffic that we've really gotten on people.
Good example would be where Dave used to live, 87 Maxwell Street. He parked up on the grassy area, had his own little gravel area there, so, yeah.
Now, you know, that's the way the council has done it in the past. I don't know if they still wish to do it that way or not.
What dictates an improved parking? Just gravel, or does it have to be hard surface?
Anything that we go out and seal coat.
Okay.
So generally, there has to be some sort of a curb.
Okay.
And the city, and it used to be that if a person did their own improvement for parking, put in rock, compacted it, and paid to have it seal coated the first time, then after that, the city would just seal coat it all the time because it had been improved for us. I don't know if we still want to do it that way or not, but it certainly worked.
That's all I've got.
So what did you hope to have happen? I got lost.
I just wanted to know what the actions needed to enforce people keeping trailers parked on the parking for extended. I get it, you're gonna park it there for a week, but it's been months and years.
So do we want to identify some of those and have the sheriff come down and mark them as abandoned vehicles?
I would think so.
I'll dig out that section of the ordinance and make sure that everybody has a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
Anything else, Alex?
No.
Okay. Megan, anything for the council?
Nope.
Okay. Doug?
Once we get some information back from the town on the budget, would it make sense to have a work session? We've got several loose ends here that would be good to be discussed. I'm just throwing that out, thinking that might be a valuable tool for us.
I think that would be a good idea.
We're getting close to budget season, so yes.
Again, we need her numbers, Tiana's numbers first, but Steve gave us something last month too, that Story County survey. If you haven't filled that out, that was worth doing because you have a chance at the end to say, hey, the southern part of Story County does exist, and let them know.
I think the closing date on that survey was September 30th.
Oh, it's already done? Okay.
So you may not be able to find it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was worth taking the time to fill it out because it did ask a lot of questions that the what the city could use as input on its policies.
Right. Otherwise, that's about it, other than we do have a lot, and I know the ratio made a mess of things, but we've got a lot of properties that really need some serious cleaning up. And Alex's idea of going around and kind of getting a list going and pushing those factors. I want to ask Wes one thing. You said, I was having trouble hearing.
Yeah,
We didn't hear anything on the Sidwell property at all.
no, and so what we were talking about, was I need to get with our real estate gal and team and see what options we have to reach them, because it's just,
It's been time
we've called once a week or twice a week,
Okay.
every week since we could.
I just didn't hear the.
Yep,
conclusion of
and
that.
so we're looking at alternative options for reaching that
Take the
negotiation.
process server out, and show up at his office and say, here, fine. But they have processes that,
Yeah, we'll see what process they have. I know this isn't the first time they've had difficulty reaching somebody. It is frustrating either way, but we'll see what.
And we don't know anything about the full parcel being available.
No, I mean, that all
It's all, okay, it's all.
ties into the conversation with him. If he's not happy with the offer and the easement, would rather just sell us the whole thing, then that's gonna, but we have to have that conversation with him first.
Yes, okay, I just didn't hear that, so
Nope.
that's all I have. Thank you. Perfect.
Ken,
No, I gave my spill with the complaint with Nancy about the possible PSO. I'm talking to Chief Martinez, and so that's where I'm at.
I have a couple things. One thing, the Maxwell Market and Parks putting on a 5K. All those donations go straight to the Booster Club. So if you're not doing anything and want to go run, I'm not the running type, so I will not be participating. So
You don't even have to run, you can just.
That's just right. If it was a beer mile, maybe, maybe then. The other thing, I got some happy news for my aunt today, that Jerry is officially back in the States. So if there's something that we want to do as a city or as a council, we can decide that. I don't think he's supposed to be back in Iowa until after, it's a week before Jeb's wedding, which I think is the 14th. So we want to do something to welcome him home. He's been gone for about a year, so a little over a year. So other than that, any other items to discuss before I move on?
we will not have, VFW Legion dinners in November or December.
Steve was just asking me that.
Yeah, reminded me that, when you mentioned Jerry, and
I guess I got one more thing. I just found a conference phone with 4 wireless mics that we can spread out for $300. That's something that we want to get.
It has 4 individual
Mics.
microphones, which we can place 3 of them around here, 1 of them up there for somebody to talk.
because you can, every 2 council people can share one,
Yes.
and so that gets.
If we're going to continue with this format, yes, I think it's worth.
And I think that is pretty much the deal from here on out to use it. I think it's been very beneficial for people, so.
I have no objection to the mayor going ahead and
Purchasing that.
I
doing what
do.
needs to be done.
You do?
Yes,
My
Deb?
budget.
Huh?
You're spending my budget.
Yes, we are.
It's $300.
And we love it.
I know, you're always spending my budget.
I'd
You
like a
gotta
new
quit
car
it.
too. Can you work that on the budget? A mayor's vehicle to drive around?
No, I think the clerk should get
Park it on
one.
your plate.
Yeah.
I have a tricycle that, we can use for the mayor's vehicle.
Perfect.
Get your CDL, you can help down.
Instead of having a little flag on the back that says just an orange flag, we can have a little orange flag that says mayor on it.
I like his t-shirt.
That's right. So moving on to item 8, consent agenda, approval of September 14th, 2020 minutes and approval of current bills as presented.
Move the consent agenda?
Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Ken. Steve,
Yes.
Alex,
Yeah.
Doug,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
and Ken.
Yes.
Consent agenda approved.
Move adjourned?
Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Doug. Discussion.
I don't think I did
Hearing
all that.
none. Alex,
Yeah.
Doug,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Meeting
Megan
adjourned
had
at
already hung up.
8:46.
Did you move Halloween back Saturday? No, later Friday?
Deb, do you want to press end stream on that?
Collins anyway, so.
Discuss the possibility